There's a man named Ron Cleveland, you know he's the real deal, real deal. Out in the wild, casting lines where the water meets the reel. He's got a heart full of fire and hands that build with pride. In his garage late at night, where the dreams come alive. Ooh, dreams come alive. Oh yeah, yeah. He's fishing, camping, grilling with a smile on his face. Worked his way through hell just to find his place. A loving husband and a man who never quits. Welcome to Ron Stream, where the good times always fit. Oh, sit back and enjoy the show. Ron's the kind of guy who'll light up a grill with a sizzle and a laugh, got that backyard thrill. He's out there on the weekends, pitching up the tent, living life his own way, every single cent well spent. He's fishing, camping, grilling with a smile on his face. Worked his way through hell just to find his place. A loving husband and a man who never quits. Welcome to Ron Stream, where the good times always fit. Oh, sit back and enjoy the show. Through the storms and the trials, he stood his ground. Now he's out in the wild, where peace can be found. From the garage to the river, with friends by his side. Tune in and join Ron, it's a hell of a ride. He's fishing, camping, grilling with a smile on his face. Worked his way through hell just to find his place. A loving husband and a man who never quits. Welcome to Ron Stream, where the good times always fit. Oh, sit back and enjoy the ride. A chair, pour a drink, and let's sit a while. Ron Cleveland's live, bringing country style, with friends in the mix and the grill in between. This is Ron Cleveland's world, where life is serene. And the trials, he stood his ground. Now he's out in the wild, where peace can be found. The garage to the river, with friends by his side. Tune in and join Ron, it's a hell of a ride. He's fishing, camping, grilling with a smile on his face. Worked his way through hell just to find his place. A loving husband and a man who never quits. Welcome to Ron Stream, where the good times always fit. Enjoy the show. Through the storms and the trials, he stood his ground. Now he's out in the wild, where peace can be found. Through the storms and the trials, he stood his ground. Now he's out in the wild, where peace can be found. From the garage to the river. And the trials, he stood his ground. Now he's out in the wild, where peace can be found.
It's working. Hopefully the other part's working. Maybe. Little fucker, what's happening?
Slow as shit, says test.
Okay. Next step. Yeah. Bada boom. Bada bang. Bada bang. Hoop dang. This can go in the other garage. And so can this. Do. Some barbecuing. Barbecue. Do 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 do. Hey boo boo, what is that we got a picnic a basket, huh? Hoot dang. What'd you do over there, man? I got the hoot dang. Well, get on the floor with it, man. Hoot dang. What is your name? Hoot dang. It's not funny, dude. Hoot dang. What's the matter? Key, what's happening? I am, but I ain't. When it starts getting nice out every year, that means I got work to do. Yeah. Okay, well, that can go over in the other garage. Same with that auger extension. Hoot dang. And that whole barrel is going to go over there. And that cooler. And that fan. Doo doo doo. Gotta have her done by Saturday. We got a expedition to fix. And I think the diesel's showing up tomorrow. Maybe? It could be. It could be here tomorrow, it could be here Friday, it could be here this weekend. I don't know. But it will be here. The old F3 and 50. Alright. This is the satellite stuff. That is for this chair. Back chair. Right about the chair. Nobody wanted to come hang out tonight, so that's alright though. This is all my fishing stuff so far. I think I found most of it. I haven't gotten to the flat surface yet, but hitch pin, tailor hitch. That's gotta go to the other garage too. Throw that in the garbage. Another hitch pin. Turn the signal switch, put in the Expedition. Since the aftermarket one I bought was junk. Turned out that wasn't the issue at all. Alright. I don't even know if this battery charger even works. The last couple of times I've tried to hook it up, it doesn't seem to want to work right. I have to buy another small one. Test it out on another battery later and see what happens.
Dash says evening everyone.
What's up, brother? Alright. Slowly making a pathway over. Got a couple more big ticket items I want to get out while I still got some daylight. Oh, I'll probably make this a couple of times over the next few streams. Public service announcement. When I announce that these dudes are available, these Cat Claws rod holders, know this. They're never available very long.
Made a trip to North Dakota today. Got 41.6 mpg.
I told the neighbor lady she's looking at trading her Jeep in. And she was looking for something. And I told her to get what you got. The old Ford Maverick. Yeah. If I tell you that these are in stock, you need to go get them. Because they sell out very, very quickly. Especially this time of year when people are restocking. That is a 5 horsepower hit miss motor. There is a part that I cannot find for it. Got quite a few people looking. My wife's uncle, it's been sitting here. He started taking it apart. And he couldn't find the part. Now I've got people looking for it because I think it'd be really cool to get that thing running. That's a big one. That's a big thrashing motor. Or they use it for pumping water long distances too. So he pretty much gave me free rein to if I wanted to monkey with it. So I had a feller come out and look at it, and he is going to try and locate a part for me that I need to put this thing to get it together, because I'd like to actually get it running on stream. It has not run in approximately...
To Laserbeam says at Wolfram Custom Rods, haha, I asked the same thing the other day.
As far as I know, that thing hasn't run in almost 70 years. Or 60 years. We've been here 12. Yeah, almost 60 years. Somewhere in there. Between 60 and 70 years since it's run. It's still free, still moves. Every year when I get the garage cleaned out, I turn it over. And believe you me, that is no easy task. But yeah, definitely cool. Extremely heavy. Like, it is not light by any means. Like, it literally will take a tow truck to get it out of there. But nonetheless, I have a couple old vintage carts over there. I'm going to take 2 and make 1 to put it on. And then if I can get it running, I'm going to give it to somebody who shows these things, because I don't have any interest in showing it. I think it would just be really cool to get it running. Electric Dream, what's happening?
OG says get it running. We could use it to haul our asses up the riverbank down at Riverside.
I don't think you want to listen to that thing going. Oy. It's crazy because it's like as I move stuff out of this garage, if I could bring you guys over and show you the other garage, you would understand how much stuff I've actually moved. I just had it packed in here very, very, very well. So I'm actually kind of to say that I'm excited nonetheless because I don't have to get rid of stuff, even though I don't use it all the time. I do use it. You know, like I have my car ramps, for instance, or my lawn equipment. You know, I don't use it all the time, but I do use it. And usually it's stored here in the garage or my snow removal equipment, things like that. And it's like, it's nice that I don't have to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. I still have to bring a bunch of fishing stuff up from downstairs. I have a ton of fishing gear downstairs because originally that was my fishing room. If you guys remember last year when I was getting prepped, I had everything in there. So the nice thing is me getting this whole entire garage over here. It's split in two halves. I'll have another half where I'm going to lengthen the bench out that is in the front. There's some pegboard in there that I'm going to salvage to put my extra bags of bait and lures and stuff like that. So instead of coming home and throwing them on a bench or something like that, I actually have a place to put them. Maybe this year, if I can afford to get a welder, I'm kind of being picky in what I want for a welder. I really want a bigger Miller welder because one of the projects I have lined out for myself is I want to build a jet john. I have the jet ski. I have the boat. I just have to get the aluminum welder because I'm not going to do the fiberglass, do the fiberglass into the tunnel. I've ridden with enough guys now in these jet boats to understand that how structural integrity means a lot. So I don't want to just do it to get it out there. I'd like to use it for having it on the Minnesota River. I have an 18-foot boat that I'm going to use to do it. It is a V-hull. It's a, I don't know, what do they call it? A V-John or something like that. It has a V in the front, but that's it. And then the rest of it's flat.
Big Daddy yells Randy subscribed for 44 months in a row.
These are my people. This is my land. This is what we pray for. This is God's plan.
But it's an old Starcraft. It's an old 70s Starcraft. It's got it's done really, really solid. What I'm going to do is my intentions is to have it here flipped over, weld all the seams on it so they're tight. And that's going to be a long painstaking process because you can't just run a bead, you know, all the way across it because the
Dash
sheet
says
metal's
got tabs for the F-250 in all my trailers today.
Damn, you're broke now, huh? Yeah, I think the F-350 is showing up tomorrow. Maybe. If not, it'll be here this weekend. They were doing the power steering pump in it and the vacuum pump in it, so. And then Metafeller said he might have some rims and tires for it, so I'll have it up on 35-inch tires. You know anything about diesels? Diesels, one of the things that they always do is they put way too small tires on them. You take a 7.3 Power Stroke, for instance, you put a 35-inch tire on it. Not only does it get way better fuel mileage.
Not quite. Escape went bye-bye.
Nice. I don't know how it looks on camera, but I have been busy at this. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but that whole corner, you couldn't even hardly see that hit miss motor in there. I moved a big old air compressor out of there, moved a bunch of other stuff out of there. Um, I got, I don't know, 4 or 5 baskets of stuff out of here. I got a few things over here yet to move into storage, and then after that, it's just organizing the benches. But I should be able to work on it for quite a while tomorrow.
I'm Big Daddy's dad says looking good in there.
Thank you. These are not suspenders, they're overalls, and they're key.
OG says I might need to borrow that utility dolly this summer.
I actually got a couple of them, extra ones here. You can have one. That one I have a hard time letting out of my sight. Mainly because of the fact that it was very, very expensive. Had to buy that during COVID, and that cost me almost $500. They're about $300 now, or a little over 300. But during COVID, that thing was $500, and I had to have it like yesterday. So last time I borrowed that particular one out, I didn't see it for almost 3 months. I don't mind borrowing people my stuff. Don't have a problem with it. Just bring it back when you're done with it. Make it a priority. You know, there's some things that people, like when I say people, you know, I know where it is when I need it. That means, okay, hang on to it for as long as you need it or as long as you want to. I don't care. Just means I don't have to store it. I know where it is when I need it. You know, and that's usually how things work with me. But like that, I use that. I don't use it every day, but I do use it. Not getting a whole lot done. That's why I don't get anything done when I'm streaming. So every time I turn the camera on, people are like, "Oh, look at all that." Yeah, that's because I'm not talking to the camera. I usually get things done. Believe it or not, those of you who are new here, I used to run a full-blown mechanic shop out of here. The only thing I really didn't do was engine and transmission swaps. Did do clutches in here. Did do some rear end swaps in here. I just don't have the ceiling height for engine swaps. That's why I never did them in here. I would have had to push them outside, bring the engine in, and then pull the engine out and then push it back in, and that just was not my cup of tea. So
Barrington says well, problem solved.
The bacon,
Yes, needed law.
the bacon, the bacon, the bacon.
nice. Thank you for the bacon, biddies. Oh, see, boys, I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I mean, problem solved. I want to talk to people. Turn my shit back on. Turn it back on! So, as much as I don't want to buy any more bass rods, I may have to. I don't have to, but I really want one. So, Luz's new, they have the titanium bait caster setup. My son has one. And I really like his. I kind of really want one. Well, no, see, this is what happens. This is what happens. Now I got to stand here and read the chat, and it's all your fault. I can't even walk away from the phone. No, it's your fault. Ha, winning. 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 Hear that old arthritis in the wrist? Yeah, well, you know. Acts like this is some kind of chore that I haven't gotten done. You know, it'd probably help out a lot if we actually parked a vehicle in here on the regular basis, but we don't. I might, though. That was one of the reasons I was looking at like a Ford Ranger or a Maverick, because I could park that in the garage very easily. And if the wife and I both got a Maverick, what do you mean it's like 3 weeks overdue? It's like 2 years overdue. What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Get your stuff together, dude. This has been like 2 years of disaster. Because I didn't clean it at all last year. Bubba Bacon, Bubba Bacon. Bacon sizzle.
Lolly granted you a pardon for everything before 2025.
She has to pardon me every day, dude. She's married to me. Where do you think the term pardon me came from? Wives having to pardon their husbands on a regular basis. I don't know where my barrel dolly went to. See, when I had my courier company, I had a dolly for everything. And I don't know where my barrel dolly is. I have to find that. That one was rather expensive also, because that actually had the clampers on it. Do-do-do-do. That stuff I'll deal with tomorrow. Any more of that can go over there. supposed to get snow on Saturday. So I'm waiting before I put the pit boss back out on the deck. Talking snow Saturday, but I'm thinking about smoking a turkey this weekend. Smoking a turkey. Have to pull it out tomorrow. Maybe then I can brine it. Brine it Saturday. Maybe. Actually, I think I'd have to probably pull it out tonight. I'll have to check with the wife. See if she wants to do that. If I pull it out, I'd like to brine it late Friday, maybe Saturday, early Saturday. I got a 20-pound bird to smoke. We were supposed to do it for Christmas. And yeah, miscommunications and wires crossed. It didn't happen. So this year, I have to smoke a turkey for my in-laws. I'm okay with that. Turkeys are actually really easy to smoke. Don't get fooled by the hype. They're pretty easy. Oh.
Billy says don't get fooled by the hype. You will be low 70s Friday and upper 30s Saturday with 40 plus mph winds. Get crackin' old fella clean, clean, clean.
I'm just waiting for y'all to catch up on the bits you owe me. I mean, y'all started this out with 100 bits per item. Y'all way behind.
Bits are broken until garage-a-thon.
A garage-a-thon? Yeah, how's that going to work? I got to stream every night until the garage is done, or what?
Barrican says we're waiting for you to catch up on the swear subs.
Oh, I'm way ahead on those. Maybe you weren't paying attention the first night that we had it, but I was,
Billy says happy hour every 4 hours.
There is no such thing as a happy hour here. Do I look like a drinking establishment? The only people that get happy over it is people like Billy.
LMAO.
But I tell you what I am thinking. I think I'm going to shave my beard off. Thinking I'm going to shave my beard off. Getting to be about that time of year. Break time. Union break. Any questions?
So $200 this year, not $5,000.
What?
Randy asks all the way to the skin.
I don't know.
Dash says my beard and hair went away yesterday.
Damn.
Randy says that's what I just did. It was pretty long.
Well, we got about 2 more cartloads, maybe 3 to move over to that other garage, and the rest of it's just organizing it in here. And then I'll have to go over and start cleaning out the other side garage. Cleaning out the other side garage and getting that set up to put all my fishing gear in. I don't really need it for that. I could set a table up over on that side now that I have all that stuff out of there. It's like when I need the radial saw, I can pull that out to the middle here. And once I get that cleaned out, so I keep that clean, all my DeWalt stuff is going underneath there in that cabinet. My bigger stuff like my saw and chop back and all that fun stuff. Saturday I would like to oh, so the expedition was not what I thought it was. Believe it or not. I brought it down to Iam's garage, and here it was a little connector. The wires had dry rotted out of it for the vacuum canister, or fuel vacuum canister, which basically is a safety precaution thing for the fuel tank, for the vent tube for the fuel tank. But they put a sensor in it. If you don't take care of it, this little plug, I kid you not, this little plug, this little pigtail end that I'm putting on there, not even the sensor itself, just the pigtail end, is $50. $50 for the pigtail.
Dash says niece, much cheaper fix.
So I have to wire that in. And now the pinion seal is leaking on it. I understand I complain about the amount of work I have to do this, but understand that this truck has 260,000 miles on the chassis. Granted, a lot of the parts now do not, but there is a lot of stuff in there that has 269,000 miles on it. So, to be expected. I'm going to let Ethan take care of the seal because we're going to replace the wear shield also. That way that'll all be done. One shot. Then we'll be back to... Then the next step will be to get the sending unit and fuel pump done. And then the process after that will be, depending on what goes on with Lolly's car, is to send it down to Car Parts Guy and let him tackle the disco light. Really want to get that taken care of. And then it won't happen this year, but hopefully by this time next year, that'll go down to an upholstery strap and get the seats and the headliner redone and new carpeting put in. The truck's still in immaculate shape, so to me it's worth putting the new interior in because I'm tired of sitting on torn seats. It is going cloth. They will still be heated seats, but it will be a cloth interior because I can't stand leather. And then, yeah, there's actually quite a few places. I mean, I got to drive a little bit to get it done, but this place does. They do largely custom automotive stuff. And when I talked to them about the story behind this expedition, I said, I'm not asking for a discount. I just know this is not something you guys normally do. And they said, yeah, we would do that, you know. So I'm pretty happy with that. They've got rave reviews. They've got a full 5-star Google review. Been in business for 30 years. I'm going to pay for that kind of service, but to me, it'll be worth it. I was pretty hard set on a brand new truck this year, but I'm really shying away from them. What does the saying go? It's better to deal with the devil you already know than the one that you don't know. Well, I know this one. I know my diesel. My diesel would work great for year-round driving as soon as I come up with the $5,000 to put injectors, glow plugs, and a new turbo in it. The turbo in there has been rebuilt, but she's a little sloppy. So I'm not liking to rage all the horsepower I can get out of this thing. It's just going to have a little more oomph, kind of open it up a little bit. We're going to take the exhaust off. It's got the factory exhaust on.
Big Daddy's dad asks if your current is costing you a car payment, then why make one?
Oh no. So the way I do it is the repairs on a vehicle have to outrun the amount of what a car payment would cost me for a year. And it hasn't done that. The average car payment, I think, right now is like somewhere around $700 a month. And the average truck payment is almost $1,000 a month. If I remember correctly. Maybe it's down now, but that's
what I was trying to say.
Yeah. No, it doesn't cost me that. And I mean, the truck has a newer motor in it. It has, even if it did pop another motor, it's $5,000 to put a new motor in this truck. The body's immaculate on it. Body's clean. Everything's fairly clean. It's got a little bit of rust showing on the undercarriage now because it was never treated for being up north, but in the meantime, I just keep working on that one and drive them until they drop and completely done, and find another crap box. I always try to keep one in the chamber. And the thing with the diesel is the diesel's going to cost me more in fuel because I got to drive that one around a little bit every day. So like when I fire it up and I go to work, I'm going to have to take the long way to work every day. Make sure I get out of the house early. It's really, really bad on diesels to run them short distances and not let them get warmed up. It legitimately, on a winter day, takes about 30 minutes for a diesel for the oil to get up to operating temp. You can idle it at that, but you really need to get on them once in a while. One of the things that's going to help is opening the exhaust up and putting bigger injectors in. I'm only doing 1.5 timed injectors, so it's literally 0.5 greater fuel value than what's in there. One thing, if you know anything about Power Stroke diesels, especially the 7.3s, were extremely underfueled. I don't know what their purpose was in it, why they did it. I've never been able to find a logical explanation, other than the fact that if you know anything about Power Stroke and injectors, the number 8 injector shoots a little more fuel than the rest of them, just to make up some kind of difference. So by doing a 1.5 over injector, you actually even all the injectors out. And they tend to have a lot less problems. This one already has 350,000 miles on it. With old school fuel, these motors were they could go 1,000,000 miles. They were 1,000,000 miles before the recommended rebuild. I mean, this was the first motor that they ever put 100,000 mile warranties on. So, Kentucky Brothers. As a Misfire, 2006. Hui. Yeah, that's I'm hoping for your sake it's just a bad coil and spark plug. But yeah. It's a nice truck.
Billy asks Triton.
Yeah, it's a 3rd Gen 5.4 or 2nd Gen 5.4, sorry. It's a 2nd Gen 5.4 liter in that truck, and they were known to wipe out cam phasers, cam shafts. And it starts out like a misfire. And typically it junks the motor. But sometimes you get good ones. Dash has got a good one. His is still running impeccably. My father-in-law's, which ended up being ours, that one never missed a beat. Well, here's the thing with the 5.4 liters. I got one in my Expedition outside. Hook it up to a scan tool. Find out what cylinder it's misfiring on. Only replace that plug and coil pack. Don't waste all the money replacing them all. Fix the ones that misfire and go from there. Unless you can guarantee that they haven't been replaced, those trucks run 100,000 mile plugs in them. They're what they call iridium plugs, and they're typically good for 100,000. And the 5.4s are not hard on spark plugs at all. We pulled the ones out of the old motor that was in this, and that was after it blew the crank bearings out of it. And they were the original plugs that have been in here for 200,000 miles, 200 plus thousand miles, and they didn't look that bad at all. Yeah, the only thing is that's a second gen 5.4, and the second gen 5.4s had cam phaser issues. Matter of fact, a lot of the aftermarket motors that are installed now are cam phaser deleted engines. Now what? Nobody wants to talk tonight. I mean, I can just turn the stream off. That's okay. Go to bed early. That's okay too. What are you gonna put in there for a motor? Them motors will go a long time if they're taken care of. I mean, that motor will go 300 plus thousand miles. It will do that. Thank you, Stoner. Now tell Billy that. Tell Billy and Barrican both that. They seem to think I haven't done anything. Ooh, that's a tall order for that truck. It is narrower than the 5.4 motor, but getting it to tuck in underneath the firewall, like that 5.4, that's the challenge. I mean, you picked a good motor. It's just that's gonna be a tough one. Oh, well, yeah. There you go. Are you deleting all the electronics in it then, and just doing custom stuff, or what are you doing? Hey, if you got some fabrication skills, then you won't have any issues. You won't have any issues because you can offset the motor mounts. Then there's a lot of things you can do to make it fit a lot better. Can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done.
Welcome to my house.
Hey!
Cause these are my people. This is my land. This is what we pray
Big
for.
Daddy yells from Big Daddy's dad.
This
Just
is
give
God's
Kentucky H
plan.
Brothers a subscription.
Well, thank you, Big Daddy. Appreciate you.
I'm Big Daddy's dad says give him a voice. Kentucky H Brothers says yay. Ema take out everything that don't need to be there to keep it going.
I don't. So as far as I know, and don't quote me on this, I have not motor swapped a 5.4 yet.
Thank you at M Big Daddy's dad.
I'm pretty sure you can get rid of the ECM, and then you just hardwire the body control module. I've looked into it.
I'm Big Daddy's dad says at Kentucky H Brothers. You are very welcome.
As long as you I think it's the body control module is the one that you need. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's what you're going to need as a body control module. So
Dash says oops, I think he's seen that.
why is it not reading that now?
Kentucky H Brothers says I put a 410 stroker engine in a 2000 Dodge Dakota. Puts out about 850 horsepower. Just sold it.
Nice. Well, because I looked at, there's a couple of different engine swaps that I looked at for this truck, mainly in part because that 5.4 just does not seem to have any power, and there's not any really way to get power out of it. It's one of my favorite winter rigs. Is probably by far one of the best ice fishing rigs I've ever owned. I mean, it trucks through the snow, it hauls my fish house, but it's like you can definitely always tell that there's a trailer behind it anytime you got a trailer behind that truck. Anytime. So I'd looked at a few different options. I'd seen guys that 4BT swapped them. I've seen the 302 small block and the 351 Windsor swaps, which is not much of an upgrade power wise unless you're willing to stick a bunch of money in the motor to make it happen. And I really just didn't want to deal with the diesel on the ice. I don't like dealing with diesels on the ice. I don't like dealing with diesels in the cold as much as I like them.
Mine's such a turd.
Yeah. And there's not really anything you can do power wise for them. You can throw a supercharger on them, but it doesn't add. It doesn't add that much power to it to make it worth the money. They do make a supercharger for the 5.4 liter, but by the time you get it done, you get it tuned and everything, the power that you have gained really just is not worth it. There's a place right here in Minnesota that actually does it. And I used to build custom cars back in the day, and I called them and I said, really, what can I do to this 5.4? I know you guys have tuned them, things like that. They said, well, they make a supercharger option. It's the same thing that they did with the Lightnings, but the Lightning motors were different. They had a different cam configuration, and it was never put out aftermarket, so you have to have those same cam parameters custom cut, and then you have to order the injectors. So you're spending about as much as it would cost to put a new motor in the truck altogether, just getting a supercharger injectors. And then you have to bring it down and get it tuned. And it's like, is it really worth it? No. I can tell you that verbatim. I think, and it's literally like a 70 horsepower gain, which for the amount of money you're spending is not worth it. If you're willing to spend anywhere from $6,000 to $9,000 on 70 horsepower, that's crazy. Especially when you can move up to the Coyote motor and gain that on a simple tune. You can gain over 100 horse on a simple tune on a Coyote motor. For $9,000, you can do some serious damage to a Coyote motor. Then I looked at a Coyote motor swap, but then I have to swap everything because mine's an Eddie Bauer edition. I got to swap everything. I literally pretty much have to find a donor truck and swap everything out because mine has, for its time, has every bell and whistle you could get, and I have to swap everything out of it. I have to swap the dash, I have to swap the ECM, the PCM, the BCM. So, and the entire wiring harness, and then be able to wire it so everything lines up. That's not a fun thing at all.
In my Dakota, it was a 2-door short bed, super small truck, had a 4.7 engine, cammed it, put larger injectors, lowered it, only gained 70 horses, spent like $1,250.
That's reasonable though.
Then I put the 410 in it, it immediately changed.
I mean, $1,250 for 70 horse is reasonable. A reliable 70 horse at $1,250, that absolutely. I can see that, but when you're talking the price of a very well built 383 stroker or whatever to gain 70 horsepower, yeah, no.
The worst part was the overheating.
Yeah. I've had a couple of diesels, my 7.3s, where I've gone all the way out. I did a full Swamps diesel conversion in my last one, and that was 7.25 horse, and that was $15,000. Was it worth it? Yeah, that's the hardest. You usually push the 7.3. There's a guy claiming he's running 1,200 reliable horse out of a stock 7.3 configuration as far as block and heads and that kind of stuff, and I don't really buy it. I mean, I've detonated a couple of these 7.3s messing around, and Swamps was kind of the foremost authority on it, and they could get these things to do about 7.25. And that's reliable. I mean, yeah, you can push them 1,500 horsepower, but they're not going to last that long. That's literally a truck pull motor. That's made for going 300 feet. That's it. And then that thing is sitting back in the pits with 4 fans on it, blowing all over, trying to cool it back off. Unfortunately, the early light diesel engines, the 12 valve Cummins, had the gain for a very long time. Even now, If a guy wanted just a simple mechanical injection setup, the 12 valve Cummins is still the go-to authority. It's the go-to engine. You can make some serious horsepower out of them, and you can do it fairly cheap. Before diesels got to be all the rage, and every teeny bopper in the country had to have one, you could legitimately turn a 12 valve Cummins up to 700 streetable horse for about $6,000. That's literally having the entire engine gone through in the whole 9 yards. Well, now I think that same setup will probably cost you 10 or 11,000. Just because the prices on everything have skyrocketed. Yeah. This is what I don't understand. So the 4.6 and the 5.4 are basically the same block configurations, block and head configurations. But you could take a 4.6 and there's a bazillion aftermarket options for them. You could turn them things up. The lower end will handle 1,000 horsepower on a 4.6. But they made nothing for the 5.4. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Somebody help me understand. As common as that motor is, why did nobody ever do anything with them? SVT never sold their package for them.
I can't mess with diesels.
Oh, I like diesels. Only problem is I live in Minnesota and we are the home of the cold starts. If they start. You might have to dump about 10 gallons of ether down their gizzard, but they'll start. It's just how long do you want to mess around in the cold to get them started? Matter of fact, when I do bring this diesel home, the next step is so I have the big old battery charger. I don't know if you guys can see it in the corner. It's an old school battery charger, bench battery charger, like for using to start semis.
The only diesel I mess with is our 6.6 farm truck. It's a beast.
The old dirty smack, huh?
Spirit Musique says land of the cold starts.
Yeah. You don't know what a cold start is until you got to get out in the negative 32.
Spin Music Maury's no one.
We've had, it gets cold enough here to where you just don't shut your diesel off. You leave them run. You just leave them run.
We do cold starts in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Oh, yes, you do.
LOL.
Yes, you do. You are not lying about that, man. I've seen some YouTube videos of that stuff up there, and it's like, wow. Yeah, I'm in central Minnesota, so it's like we hit them negative 32s and
Kentucky H. Brothers says we tried starting it when it was minus 20 here in Kentucky 2 years ago. Our block heater wouldn't even get it going. Spirit Musique yells haha. Gotta lurk dude.
10-4. Yeah, the I'm guessing you probably there's a couple of things when they get that cold. Like you have to put a circulation heater in it. You're also going to want some type of fuel recirculator in them, especially if you're going to be running them that much. The the issue that I have is the fact that I can run all that stuff, and then you could have like a 9,000 watt generator to run it all. Like when you're out ice fishing, you gotta have a 9,000 watt generator just to plug your truck in on everything. And honestly, it's just cheaper to leave it run. When you know it's going to be that cold and you got to drive it in the morning, leave it run. Get a fast idle put in it. You can get a TS6 position tuner for like $250 for a Power Stroke for the old Power Strokes. For the 12 valves, it was a puck. They called it the valet switch, and you flip the valet switch and it puts it on high idle. Yeah, you're going to go through some fuel, but you know what? I'd rather go through some fuel than not be able to drive my truck the next day. Then when you get out there, you make sure you leave early. You go out and kick her in the gizzard a few times and send her around the block. You know, get about 30 minutes of drive time on it, maybe a little more if you can. Get about 30 minutes of drive time on it, then you bring it to work and leave it run. I know there's people that don't, and they've never had an issue. I'm blessed where I work at a place where I can pull mine into a heated shop. It stays at about 60 to 70 degrees all day.
Kentucky H. Brothers says we left our tractor on this winter, got down to -10. We knew the ice storm that was coming was gonna knock trees in the road. We got up at 5 a.m. She was still on.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to work at a place where I can pull my truck inside and let it sit inside. Um, I like diesels. I don't like. I mean, the newer diesels have got a ton of power, but the way the emissions are set up on them, um, it blows the EGR system right down on the grid heaters in them. And if you've ever pulled one apart, it is definitely one. I would say 90% of the failure rating for most, and it doesn't matter. Take your pick. It can be the Cummins, the Power Stroke, or the Duramax. That EGR system blowing down on top of that grid heater is an absolute killer. You pull them apart and look at them, even after 10,000 miles of owning your truck, and look at how much carbon or soot, it's not even carbon, it's just how much soot has built up in that grid heater. The 7.3's problem is they're extremely underfueled and lack of heat sources. They put a preheater inside the fuel filter housing, and they put the block heater in it. When Half-Ass Garage was putting my truck together, I bought mine for $1,000. And when they were putting it together for me, they put a new block heater in mine, and they put a new preheater in the filter housing. When I do this new system, I'm probably going to do the fast pumps recirculation and heat system. It's a bypass system that you put in the hose system, and it'll keep circulating the fuel out of the tank. You go through a lot of filters that way when you have it on, but I'd rather go through changing filters every oil change on the fuel system.
We have a John Deere 9RX 830. Has tracks. That thing was the savior of this town. We pulled so many cars and trees.
It's a big boy machine. Not a big John Deere fan, though. Sorry. I'm a red guy. Although I grew up primarily orange and blue, but being you couldn't get Ford tractors and Alice Chalmers were not really a big thing anymore. When we got to doing bigger setups, then it was international.
All we run is John Deere. Have a few Massey Ferguson. Small tractors.
Yeah, I grew up around the 8Ns, 5Ns, 9Ns, and yeah, John Deere's were not really a staple in our area, and that's mainly because we were in a small town, and the closest dealer was it ain't like now where you could go on the internet and go look. You kind of dealt locally, and usually most people bought from the closest dealer, and us it was Truman and Welters out of Buffalo, and they carried Case, so we ran international Case. The thing I don't like about we're streaming here. The one thing I'm not happy with is John Deere's electronic systems. So the diesel shop I worked for, we worked on a lot of farm equipment. And you could fix all the stuff that was wrong with a John Deere, but you had to have John Deere themselves come out and flash the computer, program the computer. And I hated that. I hated the fact that you had to go through and do that every single time. Drove me up a wall. I used to have a really nice laptop scan tool, a very nice one that literally, if I paid for the programs, I could put anybody's program on it. And John Deere was one of them ones that they just don't sell their program. And even Mercedes, you can buy a Mercedes program. It's expensive. It's $15,000 to buy it. And then it's close to $5,000 a month to operate it. But if you work on enough Sprinter vans and things like that, it's worth the money. Freightliners were the same way with the Mercedes program. And then you had, Mack and Volvo, they were two in the same, ran the same motors, same thing. You could buy their programs. John Deere was just that one that you could not.
The nearest Deere dealer is 5 hours away. We only have 650 people in our town, mostly all farmers. It's either Case, Deere, or New Holland.
Yeah, that's what it is around here. And we got Caterpillar. We got Caterpillar here too. Yeah, you have more people in your town than I have mine. I have 499 people in my town. I have 110 fishing lakes in a 20-mile radius, and in between them fishing lakes is pretty much either dairy farms, turkey farms, chicken farms, or crops. Main crops out here are sugar beets, soybeans, and corn, and hay.
OG says my bidet just broke. Talk about a crappy situation.
Yeah. That would be a really crappy situation.
Kentucky H. Brothers says all we have is crops and one big lake. Corn, soybeans, wheat.
We don't have much for wheat around here. There are some wheat farmers, but not many. The main cash crops out here are definitely soybeans, corn, and sugar beets by far. There's a few hay farmers. There's a hay farmer right up the road from me. But yeah, it's mainly, like I said, sugar beets, corn, and soybeans. And it's because we have ethanol plants all around us. And then we have a big sugar beet factory a half hour from me. It's about 45 minutes.
My family farms about 15,000 acres, which is a lot around here.
Yeah, that's a lot around here. Most of the big farms around here are doing about 4,000 to 5,000 acres. There are some way bigger outfits. Don't get me wrong. There are some way bigger outfits, but the average around here is 4,000 to 5,000. There's some smaller ones. I mean, there's a spread of everything around here, but I mean, as far as the bigger producers, do I do any hunting? Not in a long time. Hunting squirrels. Squirrels are a nuisance around here, so are the rabbits, so I'm pretty regular with them. And speaking of squirrels, I'm having a squirrel moment right now. Come here. Come here.
My cousin farms in Missouri. Farms around 50,000 acres. Cotton and rice.
Now, why are these different? I don't think this works any different than the red ones. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. I don't see any difference between this and the red ones. That maybe there was a reason behind it or something. I meant to try and figure it out, but because I have the same ones, the same ones, but they're got red heads on them instead of green, which is weird. You gotta watch out with these ones. They put themselves out really quick, though.
We have a family about 45 minutes from us that own about half of 2 counties. They farm around 30,000 acres. They own pretty much a whole town. The farmer's is the mayor. His son is the sheriff. His other son is the district judge.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing that was happening in the county I grew up with, and then the housing boom in the early 2000s happened, and these families that own large farm areas got offers they couldn't refuse and sold their farmland for housing developments. And yeah, those housing developments haven't happened yet. A couple of them have, but no, not to the extent of what it was supposed to be.
Jim Maui says Google says green tips are better for the environment somehow.
Still smells like a regular match. All I can hear is Greta going, "How dare you? You lit a match. How dare you?" Wonder whatever happened to her. Somebody look that up. Whatever happened to old Greta? She was from Sweden, I think. How dare you?
Both have sulfur.
Yeah.
Kentucky H. Brothers says my grandpa was told he was going to have moved because the state was gonna buy his land for a new I-69 interchange. He raised hell. They didn't get it as all Ema say.
Yeah, they have to have a very, very valid reason now for eminent domain. A car lot that I worked on for many years. The state filed eminent domain, and the owner fought them for years. They kept trying to tell him, well, this is what we're paying. He's like, it's not enough. Because part of eminent domain for a business is they have to, he had pretty good frontage, road frontage, rightfully so, with a car lot. He said, you got to put me in a place with the same type of frontage. And finally, it came to terms. I mean, literally a week or 2 weeks before the project was supposed to start, they finally came to an agreement, basically saw it his way, because he went out and he started pricing out places for sale the same size. I mean, he had a big place. You know, I mean, he had almost a 2-acre lot right in town. And yeah, he made him buy him out. And trying to find that same frontage, well, everywhere you could find that same frontage with the same traffic count was close to the Twin Cities. And at that time, property, you know, towards the Twin Cities was huge. And that's during the early 2000s when there was that big housing boom happening. And the state ended up coming off a whole ton of money, only to find out that they didn't do exactly what they were going to be able to do, because the roadway. So basically, they wanted his place and the townhouses behind it to put in a service road, because they didn't want any turnoffs on the main road that they were building or going to be doing through there. We were right on Highway 241 in St. Michael, Minnesota. And if you know anything, if you're from Minnesota, you know, back during the first housing boom, the rural areas of the Twin Cities are the things just outside the metro. They were booming. St. Michael, Albertville was literally rated the fastest growing area in the state of Minnesota. So, I mean, we were selling cars like crazy, and that was the other thing, is it's like we were pushing. I was doing average 30 cars a month. 30 cars a month, which was, you know, a really good average, an overwhelming average for a small car lot. But I mean, we were having a hard time keeping up on inventory. And really, it just came down to, you know, he presented his case and he said, we can go in front of the judge. You can go in front of the judge and do what you want. And they settled. It literally made him go to the courthouse, and then they settled with him. How much sense does that make? Miss Piggies, what's happening? Hello from Australia. Hello from central Minnesota. My back itches like crazy. Where's the back scratcher 9000? Yeah, that'll work. That'll work, Minty. Good reach. Easy to maneuver. Oh, yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. Huh. I hate when that happens. Hey. So in utility locating,
I used to live in Uteru, KY. Had only 75 people and a 5-acre car lot. Never made sense to me.
Well, the whole thing was is the guy this was
No major highways anywhere near.
well, this never used to be. This was just a small. So the owner of it, who was a really good friend of mine, um, he used to do crash and fix cars. He had a body shop, but and it was just something that he did to bring in extra money. Well, the thing is as business started picking up, I'll put it to you this way: it was actually two separate car lots in one location, and the one car lot was selling out. He was just trying to sell off the rest of his stuff, and I was currently working at another car lot and then doing my repo work. I have my repo business, and the owner of the car lot I was working for was not keeping any inventory on the lot. Can't make money with no inventory, especially when you're a commission-based salesman. And my repo business was good. The money was decent, but I like selling cars. I still like selling cars. Maybe that'll be my retirement in life is I'll just open up a small mom and pop's car dealership. I like flipping cars. So, um, yeah, the hard part was, finally the guy that I was working for, he had to buy out the other car lot, buy out the remainder of their inventory because this stuff had been around for years. It was never going to sell. He didn't want either one of the other guys there anymore because every time somebody came to look at one of his cars, they would steer them right to one of their cars, and then the people weren't interested. Rightfully so. So he brought me down there, and I was kind of working on some cars that really didn't need any work. He just wanted me to see what was happening because the selling cars that he fixed, because he would go to insurance auctions and he would buy lightly damaged cars, and then he would turn around and sell them. And when I told him what was happening, he said, "What do you think you should do?" I said, "The only way you're going to do anything is just buy him out of his inventory." I said, "You're going to take a hit, you're going to take a loss because he's going to think it's worth everything." But my buddy was a pretty shrewd businessman and basically told them, "Well, here's the deal. I don't want you here anymore. I will buy out your inventory to get you to go, but I'm not paying full price for it. So you come up with a number and we'll go from there." Well, of course, they hit him with full price numbers. And he said, "Nope, get your stuff off my lot." Well, long story short, the owner of the other place did not want to take any of this stuff home with him and ended up cutting him a really tight knit deal. And yeah, I think, what did we end up with? 14 or 15 cars. Like one of them was a square body Chevy with a 4.3 in it and a 5-speed and 4-wheel drive. And I granted now that truck would be worth a lot of money, but back then in the early 2000s, that truck wasn't worth a whole lot. But he thought it was worth $6,000. And it's like he's like, "Well, it's got a good motor and everything." Don't care. I mean, it's legitimately a $2,000 truck all day long because nobody wanted a 4.3 liter with a 5-speed in a square body half ton. Nobody. I liked it. I drove it. It was a good just commuter truck, but wasn't anything you were going to really put some work into.
I'm about to turn 19. I've had about 20 vehicles. I started out with a Lincoln Continental, now I'm working on a 69 C10 worth about $30K, was in some magazine. Chameleon orange paint, 20-inch rims, 454 engine.
Nice. Yeah, my custom stuff started when I was 17 years old. Every vehicle I ever owned, I always tricked out, rims, tires, do motors in them, whatever. But when I was 18 years old, my step grandfather and a buddy of mine said, "You really need to start doing this stuff on a regular." So I started working out of my grandpa's garage. he taught me the basics about painting, and then I was self-taught into painting, and I already knew how to do motors. I'd been going to school for auto mechanics and stuff like that, and then um, I did on and off stuff. And when I met my daughter's mom, uh, her dad, I was working 2 full-time jobs because she was pregnant and we were trying to get our own place to live. Um, he he just kind of looked and was in awe of the fact that I would work 4 10s at one job at night, and then I would work 5 7.5 hour days at another job because it worked out because the job that I worked during the daytime, we'd work 7.5 hours and then we would not take a lunch break throughout the day because then we just leave early at the end of the day. So it worked out good for me. I could go home and sleep a few hours and then head to my next job. And then I would sleep in on Fridays, um, or go to bed early on Fridays. I'd wake up Saturdays and Sundays and I was working on people's hot rods out of his garage. And I mean legit hot rods, people bring them over, need the carburetors tuned, need the timing done, or it wouldn't run right or things like that. And that's what he did. And he's like, why aren't you not doing this on your own? I'm like, well, because I don't have the money. I don't have the shop space. He's like, well, you're doing it out of my garage now. And that started off Custom Creations in Minnesota. I went from his garage to renting a shop in somebody's backyard, a 50 by 50 shop. Within a couple of months of being there, and this old 50 by 50 shop had a dirt floor and wood heat, but it was more room for me to work. Uh, Brought on an old high school friend of mine. Neither one of us had much sense of running a business, but then there was some stuff that was happening in the meantime, and I took on a business partner. And when I took on this business partner, we were doing really good. By this time, we were on Highway 10 in Ramsey, Minnesota. Um, we're making very good money, but our overhead was extremely high because we were pretty much having to finance everything out. So most of the money we had was going out to paying financing bills and things like that. And then every time we get a car done, we'd put a few $100s in our pockets and we just keep working. But I knew that's what it was going to take. And I had enough people behind me supporting me to eventually where I ended up buying my own shop. Unfortunately, by that time, and I'll give you an instance. So I went down to Florida to a car show. I came back from Florida, now they've got the yellow lockers and they've had them for a long time, but we had a cage. Like we had a cage probably about the half size of my garage. That was a chemical cage, so that way if something exploded, it would contain the explosion. And we never kept much in there because I bought things as I needed them. I never stocked up. We kept the basic oils in there, 1030, 1040 were your basic oils back then. We kept a few cases of that. Didn't keep any filters in house because didn't need them. I come back from this car show. I'm gone for a week. I come back and this cage is stacked full. Didn't get a phone call. Didn't hear nothing about it. Never heard nothing in my hotel room. I come home and the cage is stacked full. There's also an invoice on my desk for about 10 grand. 10 grand to us at that time was extremely detrimental. That is the difference between closing shop and staying open. And we were doing $250,000 a year. The problem is like I said, between our building overhead and, tools and trying to stay, trying to actually get our name out there a little bit more to where we can get some upper end clients. Because at that time, one of our main sources of income was Street Beast kit cars. Street Beast kit cars were really just a low end kit car that people would pay money to get, like their 32 Roadsters and they're Cobras, and part of that is we had to, in order to get to be a certified builder for them, you would have to buy one of their cars, put it together, and then their reps would have to come out and inspect it. So of course, what everybody does is they buy the Willys 3-window kit. They put it together. They put a small block Chevy in it, or a lot of guys did on an S10 chassis. We used an S10 frame, put a 9-inch rear end in it, kind of went all out, which thankfully we did, because instead of just doing enough to get by, we went overboard, and they said, okay, we don't need to see any more out of you. We were certified to build any of their kit cars. The closest one to us at that time was Tennessee. You didn't make a lot per car, but you made enough to keep the lights on and put some food in your belly. But it was enough to start getting our name out there. When I came back to seeing this $10,000 bill for fluids, and we're talking, these fluids are not normal fluids. What it was is the local Lowe's was selling out because they were being bought out by O'Reilly Auto Parts. So they're trying to sell everything they can that has the Lowe's brand on it. Now, granted, it was phenomenally cheap stuff, and there was a lot of it. The problem is 30 weight and 50 weight race oil. We never sold it. We never used it for anything. Nothing. We didn't use that stuff for nothing. And it was just a lot of weird stuff like that. Weird oils. Specialty oils. So when him and I finally parted ways, I went and bought a building, continued on with the company name. He went and did his own thing, and I thought maybe, I didn't realize anything was coming out of it, but I was drowning. Not gonna lie, I was drowning. I could not get above the bills, and that wasn't the only thing that got ran up. There was a lot of bills that I didn't know that got ran up, and there was a lot of invoices I didn't see until after I moved, and there was a lot of things that never got billed to the cars after when they were built. Just a lot of stuff. And long story short, a company out of Colorado decided they wanted our business. They wanted the business itself. Mainly, they wanted the name, they wanted the reputation, and they wanted the Street Beast Kit Cars contract. Okay, sure. So price came across the chopping blocks at $250,000. That $250,000, I had to pay off the building, which was fine. I had to pay off whatever tool bills we had. Long story short, I put about $10,000 in my pocket. What I thought was previous partner came at me and decided that he should be entitled to that $250,000. That half of that was his. Oh, okay. Goes as far as having his family pay for an attorney. They never called me once. I've known these people my whole life. Never called me once to ask me what was really going on. We went to court. Litigation took about 6 months. What I had already done was done. So basically, the only thing I did is I did not do anything with the $10,000 I put in my pocket. I put it in an account, and I left it there. And when we went to court, and I brought everything up to the judge, what had happened, why I was forced to sell, why things turned out the way that they did, he pretty much told me, he told my now former friend and my former business partner, he said, the way it sounds is you owe Mr. Cleveland a lot of money. And he said, Mr. Cleveland, I'm willing to give you a judgment on your behalf for the remaining balance of what you didn't make on that business. And I said, I'm not looking for that. I just want to part ways and be done. I knew he didn't have the money, and he would never have that money. And, it was a bad deal. It didn't work out. We were both young. We were both, trying to learn things. And, he didn't know anything about the sale, nor did he try to nor did he try to get a hold of me to get any understanding of what was going on. Many years later, after I got out of prison, I talked to him, and he apologized, and I said, "It just is what it is, man. We were young, dumb." He's like, "Yeah," he said, "I had to straighten it out with my family and things like that." And I said, "Yeah, that happens, you know." And he's like, "I didn't make very good decisions." And he said, "You weren't real good with money." And I said, "No, I wasn't, because I was sticking every penny right back into the business." So I was sticking every penny to try and get us up. And I said, I kept moving up and moving up. And I said, had I stayed in the first garage I was in and built up enough money to buy a garage in the first place, I said, probably wouldn't have been in that place. But things happen. My TTS quit again? Sure does seem like it. It must have. Looks like I missed a couple of things. I've been trying to learn everything I can. I have 4 certifications in welding. I've been a home builder for 3 years, concrete work for 2, work on a fabrication shop for 2 years, custom make turkey calls on a wood lathe, and I'm about to become a certified plumber. Next thing is to learn everything I can about engines, transmissions. I know a good amount, just want to know more. So let me help you out, youngster. Let me help you out. It's, if you want to get into doing cars and doing things like that, look at Richard from Gas Monkey Garage. Richard Rawlings. Perfect example. Knows quite a bit about cars. Surrounded himself with the right people to get the job done. If you try to do everything yourself, and I will tell you this from experience, you are going to lose money at an exponential rate. It is going to take you 5 times longer to build a car when people want them done yesterday. It's going to take you 5 times longer to build a car, and time is money, and you're not going to be able to bill for all that time because you will be bidding against other shops. The most likely reason that you will get the bid is because you can get started on it right away. If I would have learned to sub more stuff out, like building the engines, building the transmissions, I had to sub transmission building out because I didn't know anything about them. But then again, I was subbing it out to another buddy of mine who had a full-time job. He just knew how to build transmissions. So where going to a transmission shop and getting a custom transmission built would have taken a couple of weeks, it would take him a few months. Sending it off to a body shop where it would have taken them a couple of weeks, it would take me, a couple of months. It used to be where you had, now that you had all these TV shows that came out where these guys are building full custom cars in a matter of weeks, as opposed to when I was doing it, your average wait time was 2 to 3 years to get your car done. We were up against a gun. And now for anybody doing that stuff now, they're up against even more of a gun because the demands for luxury in these old school hot rods is even more. The reason new vehicles have gotten bigger is because the amount of technology in them. Well, now these people want that technology in these old cars that were never designed to hold that much technology. So now you've got aftermarket companies trying to get it done. And then you've got all these shows out there, like Fast and Loud and the other Counting Customs and all these custom car shows where they're getting these cars done inside of a couple of months, where that's just not feasible for a one-man shop or even a two-man shop at that matter. Richard Rawlings had enough business sense to pitch a show idea to a channel, which allowed him to grow a lot faster. And when the show got pitched, he was able to subcontract guys immediately, and he knew what kind of a gun he was going to be under. So he had enough people, even in the background that you didn't see on the show, to make this stuff happen. And people don't understand that that's how it works. So if you ever seen Hot Rod Garage, Lucky on Hot Rod Garage, Lucky for the longest time was in the background of all these shows being the finish guy. Lucky was the guy that put the finishing touches on all these cars. It's what he did for years. If you knew who Lucky was, and the reason I knew about him is because I'd read about him in magazines, I'd heard about him on YouTube, and when he finally got his own show, this guy is like the master mechanic. This guy can do anything with any vehicle mechanically. You name it, foreign or domestic, Lucky was the guy. You find me a Lucky, I will be a millionaire in a year building cars. No, I never seen it. I seen part of it. Part of the I seen one car. I seen one car that they were doing, and that was it. As much as I liked Gas Monkey Garage when Aaron Kaufman left, I was kind of I kind of was just not a big fan anymore. I even tried watching it on YouTube after the show, and still, for me, Aaron Kaufman, it's the builders on the shows that are my people, and a lot of these shows lost a lot of their original builders, and the only one that I think I could probably still watch on a regular basis is Count and Customs with Danny the Count. I like him because he's got an old school vibe, and I see myself like him, where I have these design ideas. Like I look at a car and I just see the way it's supposed to be. I look at a vehicle and it's like, if I could find somebody to take the stuff that is in my head when I tell them what I'm looking at, if they could take the stuff out of my head and make that a reality, I got some serious badass cars. Oh, that's why TTS isn't working. My speaker died. I apologize. Yep, that battery is dead. I apologize. That's why we don't have TTS. That battery is dead. What about this battery? That one's dead. Jeepers. Maybe I should charge some batteries. That one's full. I listen to the stereo when I'm not streaming. TM Gomez. That's a name I have not heard in a long time. That was the stream I was watching when I met Mr. Ned Flanders. Also one of my favorite streamers. That is how I met Mr. Ned Flanders, is on TM Gomez's stream. And Mr. Ned Flanders will go down as one of my favorite streamers of all time. He is just retired. He doesn't want to do it anymore. All right. I got to use the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back in.
Toby and I used to game all the time together. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I think I seen the first two episodes of that, and then I don't know. I think that's when life started getting really busy for me. Do I even have any welding rods left? I need to put that hammer back together, and I don't think I have any welding rods left. Gloves. Nothing in that one. Dude, I wonder if these dudes are any good anymore.
Rotax says, hey gang.
What's up, Rotax? I don't even know if these welding rods are
OG
even
says,
any
hi
good.
Rotax. Dash says at Rotax 670, howdy sir. Rotax says had to tell a guy to junk out his Ford today. 5.4 with death rattle in the phasers, low oil pressure, very rusted frame.
Oi.
Billy says evening Rotax.
I don't even know if these welding rods are even any good anymore.
Rotax says the hoist started crushing the frame. I had to brace it with 2x4s.
I'm just going to give this a quick little jump, see if it works. It may or may not. And the batteries are dead in my welding helmet.
Nice day down south, I bet. Did you hit 60?
I honestly, I didn't even keep track of the temperature today. It was very nice. I was moving stuff into storage. Buy extra long leads, they said. It'll work great. Oh hell, there's still a rod in this one. The hell was I welding
Dash
last
asks
time?
at Rotax 670, what year 150?
This is a 1603.
Rotax says 2007, I think.
Boy, it's been a minute. you
Its
just trip my
symptoms are
breaker?
textbook. I am not even going to check the oil pressure. It's too low at idle. When the phasers activate the cams off idle, it freaks out.
Ooh, did that blow a fuse? Oh, no. Usually helps to get your electrodes all the way in.
Chain tensioner gaskets blow out, losing oil pressure.
See if I trip the breaker. I haven't used this. Good possibility. Well, she should roll. That's my welder finally gave up the ghost after how many years? Try that smaller rod. Maybe all the way out of welder. Can't even do emergency repair stuff. Are you kidding me? Ladies and gentlemen, I think my welder man should outfind me. Plugged in.
Is it one of the big red arc welders?
No, it's not a big Lincoln. It's an Airco. And I don't even hear it kicking in. Got no juice. She might have finally give up the ghost.
I grew up welding with a $170 Lincoln Tombstone welder. We split the cost with my uncle and we all learned on it.
Yeah, this thing isn't even powering up. So that should just be melting these off. Might have to check the old garage. Or check downstairs, but should have blew the breaker for anything.
It's still at the resort and if Dad needs it.
I might go downstairs real quick and check, see if I popped a fuse down there, breaker. Neighbor brought over fat kid food. Yeah? Hmm. Yeah, I think the welder has finally died. I mean, before I throw it out, get somebody over to check the electrical just in case. But chocolate chip and caramel cookie bar. Two different kinds here, so I gotta eat them both. I know I've been looking at them cheap welders that they're advertising all over Facebook and TikTok. The biggest issue for me is duty cycles. You know, like if I was just tacking some stuff up and doing some minor stuff, it wouldn't be, I could pretty much get anything. You know, you can get like the Harbor Freight Vulcan or something like that. This one's supposed to be cheesecake. They're both really good.
Billy says he is getting their pimple.
Mm. That's really going to stink if that welder's down.
Welder out of commission? Flynar
Yeah.
says how you doing Ron Love from Norton UK.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
North Norway asterisk.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything else to plug into that outlet to see if it's any good. That outlet was literally put there for that welder. And I don't have anything else that runs that to be able to test it. And I actually need that welder when we work on the trailer so I can put the winch mounting plate on. I'm stepping up from a 1,200 pound winch to a 3,500 pound winch on my ramp gauge
What do
trailer.
you have in your ear?
It's my microphone. It's how you hear me. It's not in my ear. It's just hanging on my hat. So you don't hear me mouth breathing as much. I don't know. There's been
I see.
See, as a welder, I have this complex as somebody who likes to weld, who actually enjoys welding.
What the time where you at?
904. Which reminds me, I need a mod to find me a raid.
Billy asks, is that one of those weird 3-prong 220 plugs?
Yes.
Flynar says it's 304 here.
Dang.
Big Daddy says at Dash Life, you currently have spent 1,451 hours and 36 minutes in the chat. Flynar says 6-hour difference.
Yeah, I've got to find. Is it 3 in the afternoon there? Or no, you'd be 3 in the morning there. Whew. Wow. Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I don't have anything else to plug in there to test it out. But I may know a guy. I might know a
3
guy.
in the morning, yeah.
I'll have to reach out to him. I might know a guy now that the garage is halfway clean. I'll finish it up tomorrow so you can get in here, but I might know a guy that could come over and test this out for me. So I'm a Miller welder guy. I used to be a diehard Lincoln guy, but when Lincoln sold out to China, I've not been a real big fan.
Billy asks JB fishing with Dad Ron.
Sure, that works. Absolutely. The only reason I'm more of a Miller welder guy is because they're the last welders made in America. That's why. Do I think you overpay for that? Absolutely, but I keep the money in-house. And unfortunately, the welder that I want is probably around
Flynar asks, you have kids?
I do. They're grown. Like, I like the one we have at work. Yeah, it's about $4,000 for the Millermatic 252. But they're great welders. Phenomenal. But I mean, I don't know. It all depends on who you talk to. Some people swear Eastwoods are good welders. Some people swear that the ESOBs are good welders. I got, Matt Olson. He's a Lincoln guy. And Lincolns are great welders. They'll run. ESOBs are great welders. They'll run.
Do your kids know you are Twitch famous?
Yes. I've been doing social media for about 10 years. My son's been on the stream numerous times. You'll probably see him a lot more now that he lives closer.
Just kidding, but. Your channel is growing.
why anybody want to watch this, but okay. I'll go with it. Good timing. My biggest fear is if I buy one of these cheaper off-brand welders that I'm going to burn it out. But it's $1,000 to get the Vulcan
You're
welder.
not doing too bad.
It's $1,000 to buy the Vulcan Pro Series from Harbor Freight, which actually gets, for the most part, gets really good reviews. But I've never really seen anybody run it to duty cycle. The nice thing about a miller, when you get a decent miller, they don't have a duty cycle. You can just run them. They will run out to do everything you need them to do. The other thing I want to practice is I've never done TIG welding. I've done MIG and arc, and I've done Healy arc. I've done a few different things, but I really want to try my hand at TIG welding. And that would be the advantage of getting into something like the Vulcan or something like that, because I can get...
For a ginger to be, you're doing pretty good. Haha, just kidding.
I could really get into doing more stuff. Like, my wife still says I should build my own fish house. She's like, you're not going to be happy until you build it the way you want it. Like, I've always liked rear door fish houses, but this year I realized why I got away from rear door fish houses. I'm getting wrong. That fish house, I love that fish house. Love that fish house. But if I could redo it and make it feasible, I would move the door.
If you lived in Norway, you would be a very big streamer already.
I don't know that I'd want to be a big streamer. I like talking to people. I'm not about having thousands and thousands of people on my stream. I like talking to people. That's why I stream. I've met some absolutely amazing people since I've started streaming. Yeah, we can get set up to raid. Whoever's doing the raid tonight, we can get set up to do that. I need to go in, shower, get some sleep. Probably going to shave my beard off. It's at the point where it's annoying me, so it's time for it to go.
Big Daddy yells, we are going to raid JB Fishing with Dad. Go to their channel URL now.
Well, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for hanging out tonight.
Says, shave your beard? No, you need a $100 to do that.
I've got a great family here. If I need money, they send it, or if we're trying to build